when I start a video like this, I'm like amped, you know, because a face swatching video is just a really nice meditative exercise in color theory. But I have committed to swatching all of my bronzers, and there are so many that I don't know how I'm going to do this video. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. There's 3 bags full. Baba Black Sheep, 3 bags full. Like, I have multiple shades in the same formulas and things like that. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but we're gonna really try. So let's go ahead and jump into swatching all of my bronzers all over my body. Where do I even start? Let's start with the ones that I have multiple colors in the same formula. We'll start with both of my triple threat color sticks in the bronzer shades from Thrive Cosmetics. I have Rhea and Mo. So Rhea was their original lightest shade, and we're gonna do a teeny tiny swatch. And it works great on me. It's nice and neutral. It does lean a touch green, but when they came out with Mo, this is this beautiful kind of blushy leaning, slightly less saturated version that almost looks like it wants to go a little bit gray, but when it's blended out, it does go a little bit more rosy on me, and it's absolutely gorgeous for super fair skin tones. And it's such a beautiful formula too, because it's quite silicone-y, so it goes on in a hybrid manner. When you put it on, you almost treat it like a powder. You know, it'll go on top of pretty much anything. I think this is a brilliant formula, and as with anything with Thrive Cosmetics, it's extraordinarily long wearing. Okay, I don't know if this is all of them, but I have Baked, Dazed, and Blitzed here in the matte bronzer stick from Milk. That's what I have on hand. So here is Dazed. What the heck? All right, Khaki, that was the plastic cap. Let's try that again. Oh, it broke. Well, hate that for me. It's gonna make kind of an ugly swatch. There's Dazed. Bummer. I like this formula. A lot of people are annoyed because it's teeny tiny, obviously, but here's what we're gonna do. Yeah, if you unscrew it the wrong way sometimes, yeah, the little lid will just come right off. There we go. Life hack, so this is Baked. Baked is gonna be, I think, my shade. You know, it's gonna lean a little bit lighter, a little bit more orange, whereas this deeper one is going a little bit more yellow. Then we have Blitzed, which is quite red. Hey, turning it works too. Life hack. Oh boy, this is gonna be a long day. There's Blitzed. Yeah, and that's actually a really great, I mean, obviously every skin tone has the possibility of having different undertones, but that red saturation like that, it's, you know what I mean? It's not gonna pull ashy. We're going to put powders on alongside creams. That's just what we're doing. So the next one, I have 3 shades in the LH Cosmetics Infinity Bronzer. This is my shade, as you can tell, because it's very loved. This is Always, oh my God. Oh, I don't know if I've touched this with my finger before. This is the most velvety, oh my God. That formula is so velvety. So this, you can see, like, that is very much like right in line with my undertones. You know, it's like leaning almost even a little tiny bit green, but as it kind of adjusts, it is very like neutral to yellow. And that's gonna always bring my skin to more of like an equilibrium with a bronzer, whereas, you know, some of the other ones give me a little better than nature might have created on its own kind of thing. Like this is just kind of a more intense version of my complexion color. And then they actually sent me Always last, and they sent me these 2 first, and they were clearly too deep for me. So this one is Endless. I cannot explain the way that this formula feels. Ooh, they're so pretty. So Endless is gonna be that kind of red leaning, deep. It's, you know, quite rich terracotta for deeper skin tones, but, you know, medium to deep skin tones. And they might have more shades than this, I'm not sure. This is the medium one. This one is called Beyond. And it has more of a green undertone. Isn't that funny? Like, a lot of people say that they don't really know what I'm talking about when I talk about undertones, but when you place these all next to each other, you do start to see, like, especially 2 opposite tones against each other. We're talking about like a red orange and then like a green yellow. Those are going to be contrasty in a way that, you know, your eye can detect pretty easily. Cool, right? What we're not gonna be doing is contours, because I just don't have room. I just don't have room. I have 2 shades in B, Rare Beauty here. Yes, I have Power Boost and Bright Side. So Power Boost was originally my shade. You can see that is very much like a shade that's easy for me to wear. She has seen better days, my goodness. Doesn't hurt my ability to use it. Then I bought Bright Side, and this one is kind of right in line with, well, not quite, but pretty similar to Mo in the sense that it's like desaturated. It can be almost a contour on me, but it is a really pretty, very, very fair-skinned bronzer. Temperature differences are all relative. It's not about something distinct. Well, sometimes it is about something being distinctly a contour, but a lot of times it's about creating shadow by using something that's cool by comparison to what you're putting it next to that makes it look warm by comparison. Like, you know, if I cover these up, this isn't actually as like wildly cool and gray as you would think, especially when you spread it out. It just looks that way because it's next to things that are so much more saturated. But that's good news for people who are really, really fair, because you've probably gotten really tired of things turning bright orange on you and you're like, does anyone make something that would be gray on someone else and will probably pull rosy on me? Yeah, Mo and Bright Side so far. Another one that I think I only have this one shade in. I think I decluttered the other one because I just didn't like it. I ended up buying the new shade, the lighter shade in the Sun Melt from Saie, and this is one of the few Saie products that really impressed me, mainly because of this shade. Again, we're talking about something that is just so aggressively fair. See? Got another one, and it's actually a little more translucent, and I like that. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that Makeup by Mario one in the way that it goes on. It's not as dewy or as like clear, but it is less pigmented. And yeah, again, this is the shade Fair Bronze, and it's just a lot, it's like light years better on me than the original lightest shade in the range. It's like actually going a little bit peach, you know, yellow pink. So if these are too gray for you and you're super fair, consider this one. Like, look how close to my skin tone it is. Pretty interesting. I think it's interesting. Whenever I declare something interesting, I'm like, maybe only I find this interesting. Here I am with an unhinged swatching situation on my face. Clearly I find it interesting. Okay, I have a problem with this. This is the NARS Laguna Bronzing Cream. That was just like such an aggressive way to introduce that. The only problem I have with it is that, ugh, I hate the fragrance. It's so nasty. It's like I can taste that. Blech. It's like pina colada coconut sunscreen, just yuck. Yuck, 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 yuck. And it's a shame because they did do a good job coming out with a pretty inclusive range here. Like, look how nice and beautifully fair that is. I just don't really use it because I don't like the smell, but it's very, very pretty. And you can see, I mean, we are dabbling in a really great palette here of, I mean, I guess I've gone out of my way, right, to try the lightest colors in all of these bronzers, and I've been sent other ones, but like, we are really talking about some super desaturated shades here, but like green, peach, neutral, you know? And you really start to see those contrasts. Here are a couple more that I have more than one shade in. These are the Jones Road Powder Bronzers. This is a bronzer, yes, even though it looks like a blush. And that is Dusty Rose. Okay, then we have Light Tan, which is much more my shade here. Not the biggest fan of these, find them to be kind of stampy. That's all. I'll go ahead and do the gel bronzer too because it's a redemption arc. As much as these don't totally appeal to me because I find them a little bit kind of like finicky to use, this is like the least finicky product in the world and I love it. So here is the gel bronzer. Oh my God, look at that color. Look at it. In light, and I gave the medium shade to Ingrid. So I don't have that one on hand anymore, but look at that. Woo! So gorgeous. I love it so much. It reminds me a lot of the, wait for it, Bionic bronzer from Milk, although I like the delivery system better. Like, this just has never felt like luxury to me. I don't understand Milk Makeup's like packaging decisions. They just don't feel luxurious and they do charge more than they should. Hold please. There's no Illuminati. I love Olivia Rodrigo. So the reason that I like all the Bionics, ooh, that color is very different. Wait, maybe it isn't. No, it's not. It's just built up too much. I just had too big of a swatch. It's actually really similar. Yeah, it's like really similar to the Jones Road. The reason that I really like these, for the same reasons, is that like all the Bionics and the gel bronzer from Jones Road all dried down completely, but they still leave this really lovely glycerin-y finish. So it doesn't look super matte, it doesn't look skippy, it looks like healthy skin, and I like it. So the blush the highlighter. It's called the Bionic Glow. I like all of them. Oh, here's a heartbreaking swatch, but this is actually really useful. So this is discontinued. I found it on an absolute fluke, just, you know, hiding in a rack at Sephora a couple weeks ago. And this is the Armani Neo Nude Melting Color Balm in shade 20, not 21, 20, and it is cool brown. It is this just sumptuous cream to powder velveteen kind of finish texture, and it is over here with, you know, our like such desaturated kind of cool toned bronzers that they go rosy, you know, almost look gray on me, but when it spreads out, it's actually really beautiful and flattering. And I find that colors like this help me stay away from getting all the way done with my makeup and my face being kind of overall a different color than like my neck, you know, because I've over bronzed. Staying in this safer territory helps me do what I want to do, manipulate the color on my face, and just not be as many standard deviations away from my natural complexion color. And so a lot of times I will do that when I'm not feeling particularly adventurous, and this really helps maintain that. So one of the requests that I got in my comments when I talked about that blush one time was someone saying like, hey, you could do an entire video just trying to dupe it with other things in your collection or other things that are out there. They suggested a few things that I try, kind of like when Hannah tried to dupe Gone Beige from Maybelline. And I made one purchase towards that effect. And it was, and I've had this before, but it expired and I bought it again. I don't mind ever supporting them, Rituel de Fille. So this is the Inner Glow Cream Pigment in Eros. And it is this beautiful, like coffee brown, right? I mean, it's like rosy. It's so beautiful. And while it's a very, very different formula, you know, we're talking about something quite comparable in terms of color, just not in formula at all. Okay, next, let's do the Westman Atelier Beauty Butter Powder Bronzer. I don't use this enough, and it was really because there were just so few shades. I think I said that they only had 2. I think they have 3 now. Don't quote me on that. I think I saw 3, like when I was at like Credo or something. This is a beautiful formula. This is, again, another one that just kind of feels like suede. It's kind of like the HAUS Labs, like that's how it feels, or maybe like the Make Beauty. You know, it's a powder that goes on top of just about anything. I was like, why? This is way back, you know, when I was doing only clean beauty. I was like, why would a brand that makes so many cream products and they didn't have a setting powder at the time, like why would they make a powder bronzer? And someone was like, no, 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 you just gotta trust it. And I was like, okay. And that was my first introduction to a formula like this that is like that sueded, like almost like a gel to powder, where it inexplicably works on top of practically a wet face of makeup. And I just don't understand it, but I go with it. You know what I mean? I just trust it. So that person was right. And now we have a lot more affordable, I mean, not affordable, but more affordable pound for pound than Westman Atelier brands to compare it to, you know, with this kind of formula. But it is right in line with, you know, my most flattering tones. It's a little more red. I think red is okay. Like red in a bronzer is a little bit okay for me. The things that start to really show up kind of nasty on me is when it leans too green. Speaking of things that lean green, this is the beautiful Skin Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer from Charlotte Tilbury. And this is in the shade, oh, 2. I have more than one of these. Okay, cool. I'll be able to swatch more than one for y'all, I think. Yes, I do. So I was like, this has barely been touched. Okay, so it's actually the lighter one that leans green. This one leans a bit, ooh, we'll see. We'll see, actually. I don't really remember. Oh. Huh. I mean, it's kind of green. Still kind of green. So that is the shade 2. A lot of people love this. I can't get into this formula. It just, I don't know. It's just too like intense for me. And so this is the fairer shade. And wow. Wow, yeah, green gray. Just not my thing. I've seen it work on people, and I'm not gonna say it's a bad product, it's just not for me. I just don't really like it. And I did end up, I have 3 of these. I have 2 of the light shade. I'm not even sure this one is worth swatching because I know that they have reformulated it again, I think. But regardless, this is the Chanel Le Beige Soleil Tan Bronze. I used to have both, the Soleil Tan Bronze and the Soleil Deep Bronze, I think. The Deep Bronze had better undertones for me. Something has happened here. This is not working. This is like not picking up. Okay, it's fine. Woof! But this one is just so orange. I mean, so orange. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of maybe separating a little bit because all I'm getting is like oil. There we go. Yeah, it's just too orange on me, and that's why I've never used it, and I'm not a huge fan of the formula. But yeah, I think it's pretty overrated, personally. I love me some Chanel complexion products. There are a lot of things from Chanel that really impress me. This just isn't one of them. I have the Bronzino and the Sculptino here from Tower 28. And I know the Sculptino is technically supposed to be a bronzer. I'm sorry, it's technically supposed to be a contour. In my world, that is a bronzer, okay? There is absolutely no calling that a contour for me. Like, it's warmer than some of these other bronzers that I have. So it's just my opinion. Actually, no, that's color theory. But this is Suncoast, which is, I think, the lightest of their Bronzino, and it is practically a highlighter. So do with that information what you will. It's just very shimmery. It's like trying to get it to catch the light so you can actually see the color. It's like almost just like a copper highlighter. I don't really use these. I have two of the Surratt Bronzers. Where's the other one? Maybe I put it in my eyeshadow drawer because all the compacts look the same. I did! Okay, we're gonna swatch both of the, you heard right. I have two, and that is the entire collection of Surratt Bronzers, which is a darn shame because they are literally the same level, you know, of depth, just two different undertones. Like, I can use both of them. That's not good. So the quote unquote deeper one here is Soleil Claire, although, wait, really? I need to do that again for my own education. All right, this is gonna be a little obscured by my skin being red, but it's fine. Here we go. Again, this is Soleil Claire. Yeah, that wasn't, I don't think that was my imagination. And then this is Soleil Dew. Huh, and Soleil Dew is a little more green and Soleil Claire is a little more red. So Soleil Claire is the one that I ended up using, I think, when I reviewed it, but I could wear either one of those, which is a problem. Okay, that's a problem. And it's a shame because they're just so beautiful. I mean, all of Surratt's powder formulas are so beautiful. They need to expand the shade range. It can't be that hard. You have lots of eyeshadows. Okay, like, we know you can make deep shades. We know you can do it. Does he still make this? I didn't even remember that I had this. This is the Wayne Goss Radiance Boosting Face Palette. So this is his contour, but we'll go ahead and swatch his bronzer here. I don't even remember having this. That's beautiful. It's probably expired, but it's beautiful. Look at that. Ooh, how nice. Wayne does get color. He gets it. Another human being who I think gets color, but he's been surprising us in not such great ways lately. But regardless, Mr. Patrick Ta, and this is She Statuesque. You can tell this is extraordinarily loved. Look at this thing. I love it. This bronzer is like butter. It's so gorgeous. It's, again, another one of the ones that kind of behaves like a gel to powder. They always look kind of ugly once you've used them. Like, they turn up in the pan kind of in like a gross way, but it's like, when you think of it like suede, it's a lot less gross because it does. That's exactly what it looks like. I love this. I love this. I use the daylights out of this. Okay, we have a Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer. I figured out that if I use a sponge with it, it actually scrapes all the cat hair out of it. Yeah, there you go. Life hack. So the cat hair problem has been alleviated, more or less, but swatching this is gonna be kind of interesting because it's so sheer, but all, there we go. Oh, it's so pretty. All of his bronzers in the shade Light are the same in the most beautiful way. I just love them. So this is his very like sheer gel formula. I use it as kind of more of a complexion adjuster than I do like a true bronzer. It's like when you think in a painterly mindset of the way that your face looks, if you were, I don't know, with the light hitting it and stuff and you want to like enhance that, enhancer, almost like you're using a slightly deeper shade of your complexion product on your cheeks. That's sort of what this does. It's like a sheer wash that really, like, to my eye, it enhances your face. I need to stop it. I'm just using the word that the product is named. Like, it truly does enhance your skin. Moving on, we're gonna swatch the rest of his stuff here. I have the Soft Sculpt Shaping Stick, another one that I love to use. This is kind of part of my like throw it all on and then blend it together after the fact kind of routine, and that's also in Light. In the more concentrated formula, it does look a little bit more yellow on the skin, but you know, when they blend out, they are the same color. And then we have his Soft Sculpt Bronzer. This is the powder bronzer. Right there. Another gorgeous one. Always gonna look more intense when you swatch a powder, you know, because that's not how you're wearing it, but you can see. It does give a little bit of like a rich rosy undertone. It's nice. And then we have the one that no one really wants to talk about, and this is the Transforming Skin Perfector, and it's the one that you kind of mix it all together, and it still gives kind of like a highlighting quality, and that's that one in Light. I'm not, yeah, my finger is so shiny now. I just have never really gotten my head around this product. Okay, I have 2 bronzers from Beauty Pie. Beauty Pie is supposed to be sending me a whole slew of new stuff. They just haven't yet. I'm like really looking forward to it. But either way, so beautiful. Their pans pop out. They just really, they do the right stuff. This is Sunnyside and the other one is Goldilocks. So these are really beautiful, super, let's do it over here, super like velvety formulas. Sunnyside, it's gonna be that nice kind of desaturated neutral. And as it sits on my skin, you can see my skin try and turn everything pink. It like goes a little bit rosy. And then Goldilocks is going to be more golden, as one might imagine. And they're both gorgeous. There's still so much more, but we're not doing contours. Get the contours out of here. Okay, this is not I mean, this is technically a contour, but it's not. And that is the Tarte Sculpt Tape. I mean, I just case in point here. That's not a contour. It's like a red. It's red. It's a bronzer. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is Tarte's attempt at making a sculpting product more approachable to people who are afraid of like getting a stripe of dirt on their face. You know, that being the big fear of using a contour. But what they've done instead is make something that's not functional as a contour. And so it's really frustrating, plus it's not a very good formula. Then we have the Luminous Silk Glow Liquid Bronzer from Giorgio Armani. This one is a little bit green, but I like it. It just happens to have octinoxate in it, which will irritate my skin over time. But if that doesn't bother you, and you want a good liquid bronzer, and you are into something that is like a desaturated green, like look how green it is. Yeah, that's a pretty uncommon color. A very easy one for me to wear is this one from Gucci. This is in the shade 1, I believe. Yes, the Eclat Soleil in 1. And it's so rosy. Oh, it's so beautiful. Look at that. Oh, it's like right in there with Armani Neo Nude. And oh, I need to also swatch my Cocoa from Salt New York. All right, y'all, as usual, because it's out of sight, out of mind, I forgot to swatch the Salt New York shades, and there are so many that count as bronzers. So I'm gonna do them all now, and I'm going to swatch them against just a couple other ones for reference. I cannot do another bronzer video without including them. So starting with her basic bronzer shades here. This is my shade that I prefer. This is light. Absolutely gorgeous, very neutral. I'll turn this light down. There we go. Is that better? Yeah. I mean, the light is always gonna reflect on these because they do have a dewy finish, so. They are also quite sheer, so it's a little harder to see. Maybe if I back up like that. The framing's different because I was filming the podcast, so. Next we will do medium. Medium has still a really nice, it's a little bit greener, but it's like a nice neutrality to it. Kiki is very, very good at, you know, testing these things to death on different skin tones, so they're definitely well informed. And then here is deep. Gorgeous, like deep. Like not kidding around, that's deep. Okay, then we have Cocoa, which is now a permanent shade in the collection, and it is technically just a Cream Tint Pro, like a blush, but it is one of like the fan favorites because it has this like brown thing to it, but also something rosy. And so before I jump into the shimmery shades, I wanted to go ahead and swatch this against a handful of like the other kind of cool browns. So the Armani here, the Neo Nude in 20. So you can see it's much pinker than that. Cocoa is much pinker than the Armani. Rituel de Fille Eros is another one that's like, you know, interesting to put next to it. I feel like that's a good thing to see. And since it is so rosy, actually I'm gonna grab Gucci. So here is Gucci in 1. Yeah. Still a bronzer though, not the same as Cocoa. And then here is the Jones Road in Dusty Rose, which is closest, I think, to Cocoa. Yeah, so hopefully that's a healthy comparison. And then we have this handful of the like Radiant Cream Tint Pros that are, you know, highlighters for deep skin tones, but could also be radiant blushes? Sure, radiant bronzers. Here's gold. And here's bronze. Beautiful, beautiful, but clearly, you know, meant to be shimmery. Then, last but certainly not least, is the new shade, which is called Toasted Coconut, which is another kind of shimmery. This is more of like a shimmery blush shade, and it is decidedly kind of like golden brown. And that's a fantastic bronzer, honestly. So it's very similar actually, yeah, to medium. Very similar to medium, but it's just a little bit redder and it's got shimmer to it and medium doesn't. I have Dazed here. This is the medium shade from Milk Makeup, just for reference. Like that's gonna be much cooler by comparison to the other medium shades like in Salt New York. Just to give y'all a little bit of a reference without re-swatching every single thing, but I know that there are gonna be those of you who wanna compare these things to Salt New York and also to compare Salt New York to Salt New York because she does have quite an extensive collection of colors at this point that could all count as bronzers, so that is how they look. Yeah, and Eros right here. Sorry, my brain blanked, but beautiful, beautiful formula. I love it so much. And this packaging, I say this all the time, but like, this is it. This is the pinnacle of what I would want in a package of anything. This is perfect. This is a perfect package of makeup in my eyes. This is so beautiful. It's like covetable. Okay, here we have the HAUS Labs Powder Sculpt Velvet Bronzer. This is another one that's in that gel to powder kind of velveteen, like looks kind of icky in the pan, but oh my goodness, it's so nice. It's so nice. This is in the shade Light Level 1. Oh, one thing that you'll notice about any of them that's in this kind of delivery system, I'm sorry, this kind of formula that has that kind of suede finish to it is that it's gonna look so much more intense in the pan than it does on the skin. Like that looks like it's gonna be way too deep for me and it's so like gentle on my skin. It's so utterly beautiful. And again, this is one that'll go on top of practically a wet face of makeup, inexplicably. All right, VB. I'm not really sure which one of these actually counts as a bronzer. I think it's just this one. The other one's more of a contour. So this is the light shade in the bronzing brick, which is actually really funny because like, I guess you could argue that's a bronzer. Sure, yeah. But I use it almost as like a setting powder for like where I need to like slightly darken certain parts of my face to blend better. This is an indispensable product in my collection and it's starting to crack because I travel with it and I'm brutal when I travel, but it's just so good. And then I have the Vision Flush Glow from Danessa Myricks. I'm not really sure that this even counts, but yeah, it's just brown. Like that might be a bronzer for somebody, I don't know, but it's pretty dark on me. But yeah, this is in the shade Legendary. This is one of my favorites. So this is the M Cosmetics So Soft in Summer, and it's quite red, but it's such a good formula. I love the So Soft formula. M Cosmetics, you know, she has been engaging in some strange things over the last couple of years, and so she's kind of fallen out of favor with people talking about her, but I still get PR from them, and their formulas are still really pretty. Okay, here's one that I've never been able to get it to work, and that is the Hourglass Nude Bronze Light. I think I just bought the wrong shade thinking, well, it looks like bronze mixed with rose, and it just has always been a little bit too contrasty on me, a little bit too red, maybe? I'm not sure, but like I've just never been able to get something that I felt like looked natural on me out of this one. So that is why you hardly ever see it on my channel. Maybe back in the day when I first bought it, but yeah, it's just not for me. Ooh, here is Thrive Rhea powder. I don't think that they have released powders in Mo yet. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. There we go. And that's just also incredibly beautiful. Rhea is a little bit dark for me in the powder. It's still the same color, but it's just like a little bit patchier when I put it on like that. And so I do still prefer the cream. I just think that the Triple Threat Color Stick is a revelation of a product. It's just such a good formula. Then we have the Puff Paint. Let's see if this one has done anything grotesque in here. It has not. This one I bought a lot more recently than Daria, the one that I just had to declutter because it was expired. But this is the Puff Paint from Natasha Denona. And they don't tell you what the shade is, but there's only 3, and it's the tan one. It's probably tan. And look how peach that is. It's technically a blush, so that'll be why. I don't really use that one. I probably should. Maybe I'll just, you know, try it out soon and see kind of like where it fits in my routine because I love the formula. And then we have the Fenty Body Sauce. This is a beautiful product that really is, you know, specifically for the body. But I love that this like very fair shade that I have has that same kind of like super desaturated undertone to it. And it's very neutral. Like it's very neutral, and when you mix that with foundation, it richens it in a way that doesn't turn it orange, which I really appreciate. The only thing is, it has a fragrance and it does kind of start to clog my pores a little bit if I use it like day on day on day. It just kind of, my skin is a little bit sensitive to it for one reason or another, and I'm not really sure why. But it's a beautiful product. And I mean, I think it's like $40 something, and it's like the size of a body product instead of a face product, which if you look at it that way, it's a pretty good deal. Okay, we are down to the last bag here. I have 2 of the Pat McGrath bronzers. These are not my favorite. I don't know why. It's kind of like how the Makeup by Mario Skin Enhancer, the bronzer, doesn't translate to a blush that I totally adore. Whereas the blushes, the Divine blushes from Pat McGrath, are like my favorite blush formula out there. And then she put out bronzers and they just don't do it for me for some reason. I just can't like get into this formula as a bronzer. So I bought 2 of them and they're trying to hard pan on me. Okay, don't do that. So this one is Naked Desire. The colors are beautiful. I admit that. I think that they work beautifully. They really do. There's just something about the actual like sheerness of the formula that doesn't really work for me in a bronzer. And then here is Nude Honey. 2 colors that have, you know, every likelihood of working beautifully on me, but I just can't get into the formula. Ooh, yes. This is one of my favorites. This is the Make Beauty Skin Mimetic Micro Suede Bronzer. Someone did ask if the powder fits into the bronzer container and vice versa. The answer is yes. Love that for us. And this is one that's like, just, yeah, it's that same kind of suede consistency. I would say it's even a little more finely milled than the HAUS Labs or like the Patrick Ta. It doesn't look quite as gnarly in the pan, and it still has that just like fabulously like velveteen feeling on the skin. This is Lunar. The shade is Lunar. And it's going to be like a really nice kind of like neutral leaning red. I know that like it, next to this it looks like it's green, but it still has quite a bit of red in it. Like look at it in contrast to this, right? Green, 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 red, and this is gonna look even redder, making that one look kind of more neutral. It's all relative. Then we have one that's quite red. This is the Super Powder Bronzer from Well People. This is in the shade Golden Hour. Ooh, it's so pretty. Oh my God, that's beautiful. These super powders are awesome. My very good friend Hallie actually just texted me yesterday and she's like, remember that bio-based baked brightener from Well People? And I was like, yeah. She goes, I remember how beautiful that was. And she's like, oh, it looks like it's been discontinued. And I said, no, they renamed it the Super Powder. And it's, you know, it's on Ulta. And then like an hour later, I get a text from her and she's gone and bought it. Like she was so excited that it still existed. So yeah, that's just a remarkable product. So this is actually one of my favorite bronzers in my entire collection. And it's part of this trio that is completely inconsequential to me. You know, like the rest of it, I could take or leave. But it's from Kaja. It's the Butter Up Play Bento. And it's just, look at this color. Now, I will say, I think I was enamored with this color and this formula before I had quite so many in my collection. And so it felt rarer to me, but you can see it does very much like fall in line with a lot of other things that I have now. You know, it's still a really lovely formula. It's got a really lovely like glossy finish to it, but it is long wearing. Kaja does some beautiful formulas. Do not sleep on Kaja. Here is the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer. And this is in the shade Tan Lines. I was like, where is it? Name in French. So I don't ever use this because I'm a snob, but it's a very nice bronzer. It actually kind of feels like the Chanel one, the way that it almost has like a little bit of like a oily feel to it. Yeah, huh. It's kind of funny how like even the snobbiest people like me, who are entirely like luxury beauty consumers and get really like tantalized by a package, for some reason when we decide that we're going to like debase ourselves, I'm joking, I'm speaking in hyperbole, by, you know, shopping drugstore for comparison's sake, like there's something about e.l.f. where we're like, well, e.l.f. she's special. I don't know why. I don't know why it's e.l.f. that's the one. Like e.l.f. is just kind of cool in our book. I don't know why. It's like the least expensive one. Well, not anymore, but it's definitely close. Here's another drugstore. When this packaging drives me insane. The fact that when it's open, it's unlocked from the mirror. Why? Why would you do that, L'Oreal? But this is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. Kelly Gooch gave me this out of her stash, and I think it's beautiful. but I'm like literally offended by this packaging. And that's the human being that I am, because you know what? I get to pick how I spend my money and I get to pick what's important to me. And this would frustrate the crap out of me every day. That and the terrible graphic design. Graphic design doesn't cost more, okay? Like, it's not like it's more heavy packaging or something like that. Like, that's just ugly and the sticker's on crooked, okay? Okay, I can't believe it, y'all. We're close here. I have the Well People Supernatural Stick Bronzer that doesn't appear to have a shade. IDK. We'll do one of those. That's pretty. That's so red. If you're into a red bronzer, that's the one. That's the one for you. Wow, and it's a little shimmery. Just a touch. Speaking of shimmery, we have the A Broken Clock is Right Twice a Day Sunbeam Cheek and Eye Shade in Ray from Chantecaille. And this was just a product that won the hearts of maybe hundreds of I don't know, probably a lot of people, but it won my heart, and I have no explanation for it really. Other than the fact that like somehow it just translates really nicely on everybody as something. Like it's either a great bronzer or a blush or a highlighter or an eyeshadow or something, like it's just a good color. And no one can really explain it. But I've never done that heavy of a swatch of it, because when I put it on, I'm always like, what the heck color is that? I can tell you categorically that is like a copper bronze. And it's gorgeous. And it's giving me a copper bronze mustache. And that's just my gift to you. And when you do spread it out, it's not quite so shimmery, but it does make a really nice eye color also when it is concentrated like that. It's just a great product. Okay, then we have the Flawless IRL Bronzer from Oma by Sharon C. Oma in general is just very good at including everybody in their ranges. And like, look at that bronzer shade. That is like up there with Mo. You know what I mean? Like it just practically disappears into my skin. Talk about a brand that understands undertones, okay? Oma understands undertones. You know, not all their formulas might be for you, but they get it. They get it, and I can't imagine how much work goes into developing those undertones, because mixing colors, making cosmetics is exhausting. I'll illuminate why I know that very soon, but yeah, it's exhausting. And the fact that they get it so right so consistently, it really speaks to their dedication and their just art math skills. Okay, and last, I cannot believe it, y'all. I cannot believe it, I got them all on my face. This is wild. Now I feel stupid for being like, I don't think I'm gonna get them all on my face. I am in disbelief right now that we went through 3 bags. It's been almost an hour. Okay, so anyway, the last one here is the Airbrush Bronzer from Charlotte Tilbury. And this is truly just like a lesson in, I don't know, like experience of, you know, just trying different products and why my job is what it is. Because I used to think that this was kind of the be all end all bronzer for me. And it was mainly because it was the fairest one I had ever used. It was so refreshing to use a formula that didn't stamp on my face immediately. But now you can see it's too green for me. Maybe even a little bit too yellow, but mostly too green. And so having worked in some of these beautiful kind of rosier leaning tones, while a lot of these work for me, yes, it is much safer and easier for me to work with the ones that are closest to my skin tone. And you can see now that that actually clashes. It was just something that felt so much better and kind of led me to the decision to try like fairer and fairer shades of bronzer, because, you know, when we were in like middle school, right? I'm 36. Back in the day when we were like self-tanning and buying all of our makeup at the drugstore, bronzer came in like one color and you were just convinced that like tan was orange. If that color didn't work for you, then that brand didn't work for you, kind of thing. And the options have just become so expanded now that like you have the choice of not just getting the fairest one, but you can choose a fair one that actually has undertones that match your skin. So hopefully this has been helpful for y'all. I'm gonna put timestamps on all of these. I know that that's a wild pain in the you-know-what for me, but I'm gonna do it because I want y'all to be able to kind of navigate it. Someone asked me to do kind of like a map where like I labeled all of them, but I can't because some of them are on like the back contours of my face. You wouldn't be able to see everything all at once. So I just will timestamp it so that you can see, and hopefully this was helpful. This has been the bronzer video. So I will link all of them below as well for y'all to shop if you want to. And hopefully this has led you to zero in on at least if you're like, you know, fair to medium skin toned. I apologize that I don't have too many deep ones, only if the company sent them to me. Hopefully this has led you to a knee-jerk reaction of like, yes, that is the bronzer shade that I have been waiting for. And so I will link them all below. I thank y'all for watching. I thank y'all for sticking it out with me when I do unhinged stuff like this, because you tell me it's so helpful. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please do give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe and you're not already subscribed, cool people subscribe. It'd be cool if you did. I will put my other face swatching videos up here. I'll put the playlist of them. I love y'all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.